Welcome back to episode 164 of the Blockrunner Podcast. I'm your host, William, always here with your co-host, Iman.
What up?
On the sticks, we got TJ.
Hello.
All right. We just got done recording. XRP has sparked the bull run.
Pretty much. So it's official.
Yeah. So XRP no longer a security, at least in specific ways.
Yeah.
Right? A token can be a security, by the way. It's not always a security. Unlike what Gary Gensler is saying, everything on crypto is a security other than Bitcoin.
Yeah, we're just kind of piggybacking on this, I guess, or not us, like the whole market is, as far as like, I guess the broader crypto Web3 market has been looking for like a catalyst or an indicators like, all right, now we all collectively have a reason to be bullish again.
Yeah.
Like, but you know, if you've been watching this podcast or our YouTube videos, we've been bullish for a while now.
Oh, yeah.
And all it takes is to actually pay attention to what's being built, right? Like, fuck the regulation noise and all that stuff.
Yeah.
That's the boring stuff. We actually reluctantly even recorded that video or reacted to that news.
Yeah.
Because to us, it's like, dude, I mean, it's important, right? It's because it has, like, you know, systemic implications and whatnot.
Yeah.
But fuck, that's, like, the most boring thing to, like, be,
It is
like,
boring.
to, like, look at as, like, this is it. We got our green light to, like, be bullish again.
Yeah.
But I understand this. That's how these markets operate. But we chose a different route, right? On this podcast, this channel is to focus on like new innovations, right? And that's what led us to the developments happening in AI with like Bitensor and stuff like that. That was a big one. We talked a little bit about like the whole liquid staking market that's developing on Ethereum, LSDFi. That's pretty cool. It's like an interesting new like derivative market. And then of course the Ordinal stuff. That's the stuff we've been like really been sinking into. And like,
Ordinals is still so new. It's barely like 6 months old, right? Since
January, right?
Yeah, since Casey
Roughly.
Runmer's blog post and GitHub and all that.
Yeah, we found it like as early as you can, you know, like
February, March timeframe.
February. Before the only way to like inscribe an ordinal was if you had a Bitcoin full node. This is like pre like services and tools were existing, right? So we were looking into this stuff like, wow, this is a brilliant concept, right? Somebody came up with like a pretty cool way to leverage, you know, I guess the data of Bitcoin's blockchain in a way that's never been done, just to like bring in more value to Bitcoin, right? So yeah, we were excited to see where that was going to go. And the first thing we said is, well, we need more infrastructure, right? In order for this to be taken seriously. And then the infrastructure has come.
Yep.
And then once it did, it was like, all right, well, then we need like some, you know, whatever you want to call it, some big dick energy, essentially, aka Yuga Labs was the first step, right?
Yeah.
Let me drop some Skittles, 15 million, easy.
Yeah.
You got Frank the Gods came in, did his Bitcoin launch, Ordinals. What else? What else has happened, dude? Pretty much everything since then.
Yeah.
BRC20s.
That's right.
Bitmap. I mean, the whole damn thing is just flourishing and you know, expanding before our eyes.
Yeah. I mean, we're going to talk about here Yat Siu. I mean, actually, take a look at this. So Yat Siu says Bitcoin having its own crypto culture moment with Ordinals, just like Ethereum did with NFTs 5 years ago, underscores the importance of how culture will drive mass adoption.
Yeah, this is a big deal.
And then look at this, mass adoption into the open metaverse.
Right. Well, that's no surprise. Yat Siu is one of the OG like believers in the metaverse concept. Big investor into the sandbox. So
yeah,
AKA sandbox next target, right?
That's right. Hashtag next target.
Yeah.
All right. So, in that tweet, there's like this this link here, and it says there's one thing I wanted to talk about. The interplay of NFT culture has been very close to my heart for years. I have often remarked that while Bitcoins are store of value, NFTs are store of culture. I'm now forced to revise that statement since Ordinals now allowed denominations of Bitcoin to serve as stores of culture.
Interesting.
That's an interesting way to put, you know, what's happening with Ordinals and like, you know, what are NFTs, right? They're a store of culture rather than, you know, a token, right? It's a token that represents culture.
You mean like the JPEGs? Well, I guess anything, right? Anything that can onboard a community, essentially. Yeah, that's basically what we saw as like the killer feature, the killer app, killer use case for NFTs, right? It's the onboard community.
Yeah.
Align people towards a common whether it's a theme or a new IP has emerged, whatever. Everybody who has ownership in that. Like they have a shared vision or a shared culture that they're all kind of like, working towards.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess the big news here is like he's starting to see like these same early trajectories starting to play out in the Ordinals ecosystem, right?
Yeah. So he says 5 years ago. So that was in 2017.
Right? No, 2018.
2018. Yeah. 2018, 2019.
What were you doing in 2018, dude? That was pre-podcast, wasn't it?
It was.
That was like deep bear market stuff.
Yeah.
But I think he meant like 4 years ago, because 2019, that's whenever like NFTs were still kind of like.
Yeah, it was CryptoPunks. I think it was like Decentraland,
Axie Infinity.
There were some of them that were part of like the discussions in the whole ERC 721 standard.
Yeah.
And CryptoPunks was the first one to come up with some standard, and then ERC 721 came out, and then the whole thing.
Oh, I feel you. Yeah, the Crypto Kitties and stuff like that.
Yeah, Crypto Kitties was the first one to use the standard because they came up with.
Right. So yeah, that's basically where we are right now. Like even in the Ordinals ecosystem, there's still a little bit of fragmentation. Like one of the dilemmas, I guess, of like Ordinals, there's so many like technical issues as far as like how do we create like robustness with Ordinals?
Yes.
And it's difficult, right? Because there's no smart contract environment.
Yeah, Ordinals is literally injecting arbitrary data into the block, into the information blocks of the arbitrary aspect of a block.
Yeah.
In Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So it's just like text, images, very basic stuff.
Right. But of course, everybody understands, we can't sorry. We can't expect long-term sustainability with that lack of functionality, right?
Yeah, I totally agree. I don't think you can. And, but then again, right, the culture is forming around this idea, this concept of injecting this arbitrary data.
So what do you think it is? What is that the thing? Because we've seen previous attempts of like trying to create new value layers out of Bitcoin, counterparty and such.
Yeah. What is it that's like capturing people's mind and just focusing on Ordinals rather than anything like an additional functional layer on top of it?
Yeah, like a stacks.
Why aren't we building on top of stacks, for example?
It would be like the more, I guess, like sensible thing to do.
It would be.
Because there's like even though it's truly not as scalable as something like, I don't know, maybe like a Polygon or something, like an L2 counterpart in Ethereum. But it brings much more, like I said, the robustness and the functionality needed to create, some sort of a high grade quality of a product. You know what I mean? Something that's more than just like an image.
But I think you said it best. It would be sensible to build on top of that.
Right.
But the market isn't sensible.
So that's the answer?
Yeah, that's the answer, literally.
It's like whatever is the least sensible outcome?
No. It's not whatever is the least sensible is what's going to explode.
Yeah.
What the decisions, like if you're a builder, you need to make a decision on what to build.
Okay.
And so you need to understand the markets to understand like exactly what to build, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the market sentiment, this market attraction, the eyeballs, they're on the nonsensible things.
They are.
Right? They're not on the sensible things like BRC 721 or stacks or anything that makes it a little bit easier to use, a lot more functional, a lot more, all these things easier for developers.
Yeah, basically it kind of plays out in a lot of like tech history, right? It's not always the most technical or like the most optimal technical solution or pathway is the one that's chosen or adopted, right?
That's right.
For whatever reason. In this case, a Web3, it's very well understood culture drives these markets, right? Yeah, like manias, narratives, whatever you want to call it, whatever you want to pinball it. There's a force out there that like people all of a sudden, there's like a lightning in a bottle moment because there's like consistent experimentation happening everywhere, but every now and then just something just takes off.
And we've seen this play out. Remember Vitalik, he started with Bitcoin, obviously, and he was like, hey, this is not scalable, but I can build something that developers can leverage blockchain, right? So he built Ethereum. And it wasn't until Ethereum like had this like huge congestion problem until second layers and like all this other stuff was built to alleviate that.
Yeah, and like all of a sudden every other layer one in the world was like, we're much more scalable. You're never going to run into these issues over here, so build on our blockchain.
Yeah.
Right.
And so not until a problem is like staring everybody's in the face. And we remember we were building on Ethereum. all of a sudden you couldn't purchase anything because the transactions were like $300.
Yeah.
It's like we can't like
It's
sustain a
insane.
business.
Yeah, we had a good little thing going for a while, like during the bear market times like these, where fees were realistic.
Yeah.
They're decent. $2 max. It's kind of like what we're experiencing right now in Bitcoin, sorta. And then out of nowhere, like the NFT thing took off, and it's like, man, all of a sudden it's just not feasible. So we had to sit on the sidelines and wait for like an L2 to develop. And I think that might, I don't know if that same history is going to repeat itself for Ordinals or not. I mean, it kind of did briefly with when BRC20s were first introduced.
Yeah.
There was like a brief, like few day period where like the fucking fees just skyrocketed, dude. We were talking like $50-$60 just to get like an order in.
Yeah. Yeah.
To where people were missing, myself included. I was missing full mints, full inscriptions, because I was paying the fees, but I was getting,
you're getting outcompeted
big time.
Yeah.
To where like not only was my fee taken, it just my inscription was not delivered,
right?
Because I wasn't actually part of that. So these are the things that are really going to, I guess, like it's going to happen again. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Because that BRC20 micromania is nothing compared to like how big this thing is going to get.
Yeah.
And I only draw that conclusion from previous experience, like the Ethereum stuff.
Yeah, and we got to remember, Bitcoin's the first blockchain, and so it's the least scalable.
Yeah.
And so we're going to see this problem come up rather quickly. And it could stop everything.
Yeah, how big of an issue do you think this is going to be? Like, let's start to think about this.
Well, just like you were saying, BRC20s was enough to congest it, enough to where like many people lost on minting.
Right, and then like the FUD attacks from like the Bitcoin core devs started coming out. They were like sending internal emails to one another. It's like, how do we crush this, basically?
Yeah.
Right, because they were afraid. It's like, dude, if the network becomes too congested with all these spam attacks, is what they called them, then like our whole laser eye movement is fucked. Argentina is going to burn to the ground. No, not Argentina. El Salvador.
El Salvador.
Is with all those kids are going to starve, all that stuff, right? That was the narrative that they were pushing. It's like, you guys don't care about the kids?
It's funny that they mentioned that because there was a video by Slidebean I was telling you about. He went to El Salvador and he went to check out like this whole Bitcoin City thing that's happening over there.
Yeah.
So he went to go check it out. And because of the president there, it's a lot safer. So he was chilling. He was like taking pictures with this giant camera, like looked like someone visiting another country, right? So anyway, he goes to visit this Bitcoin city where people accept Bitcoin, and they did. But when you go and talk to the restaurants and the different people there, and they asked them, like, what percentage of the transactions come in as Bitcoin? And people were saying it's like around 3%.
3%.
And so not a lot of people in El Salvador, Bitcoin, city and Bitcoin like recognized as legal tender.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people are using it.
Yeah.
And so these laser eye people using that as an excuse, it's just unfounded.
Yeah.
A lot of people aren't using Bitcoin in El Salvador.
So what you're saying is like this whole laser eye thing is fake news, right? We shouldn't really be too concerned about that.
At least according to this one YouTuber, which, he's really good. I'll link it into the description.
Okay. Yeah. So, outside of all that, though, it's just because I was doing some onboarding myself with like some friends. They were interested. Mm-hmm. That's another indicator that I know like this bull market's on the way. I'm starting to get like inquiries, right, from old friends. It's like, hey, I want to buy some of these BRC20s, or people are just asking, how do I buy crypto for the first time, right?
Okay, yeah. These BRC20s, that tells me that they have some history in crypto.
They probably watch our videos.
Okay, all right.
But the other ones who are they're just interested in crypto. Maybe there's things circulating on TikTok. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's sentiment out somehow like penetrating into the mainstream was like they're thinking is like the time to buy is now.
Yeah.
I don't know who's getting through to them or what they're seeing on like, mainstream media publications. I don't know.
I feel like a $30,000 Bitcoin is pretty expensive.
Yeah, exactly. But they're still like, I want to buy some.
Yeah.
Can you teach me how stuff? So I'm starting to see some of that, but specifically towards the BRC20 stuff and Ordinals is, trying to onboard somebody for the first time was definitely not like an easy thing. It took about like a whole hour just to get somebody to the starting from 0 point to, getting the proper wallet, figuring out how to navigate on Unisat and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And, purchasing and then waiting for the right confirmations, all that stuff. It was a solid
endeavor. Yeah. trying to
Right.
explain all this stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, the fact that they're inquiring, I mean, that's definitely an indicator, though.
No, I agree. It's just the question I'm asking though is just, I guess, what's the scope of how big? Because like, the NFT or the last bull cycle did attract a large retail mania.
Well, typically when you get onboarded to crypto, you start with Bitcoin,
Yeah.
right? So, but the thing with Ordinals is a traditional Bitcoin wallet doesn't recognize Ordinals, right? So you have to download a specific Ordinals wallet that recognizes Ordinals.
Yeah.
Right. And so I guess that's the barrier to entry into this whole ecosystem. And so, but if it's downloading a new wallet, I don't think it's that big of a deal. You take your existing Bitcoin, send it to that new Ordinal wallet, and now you're in the Ordinals ecosystem.
Yeah, I guess for now, like that's probably how it's going to start in like snowball, right? It's going to start with the the Web3 natives, and they are the ones who are going to download these new wallets and familiarize themselves with these new, I guess, processes and these new platforms and stuff. To the point where there's a big enough market to where the bigger fish are going to have to integrate these things, like Coinbase.
Yeah,
they did that for NFTs eventually, right?
Yeah.
So they will do that again for Ordinals.
Yeah, I don't see why not.
Yeah, they will. It's almost like a guarantee.
Yeah.
At this pace, So, and then at that stage is whenever retail can really start to get involved. I would guess.
Yeah, another one talking about Ordinals is Vitalik. So that's
another big one.
Yeah.
Considering, like you said, he started out on Bitcoin, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now he's mostly been ghosting it for good reason. He built like a new counterpart to it that was much more robust, enables a lot more.
Yeah, and it's interesting. So Vitalik was talking about Ordinals before Yat Siu. And so I guess Yat Siu was influenced by Vitalik because he's talking about builder culture on top of Bitcoin. And Yat Siu's talking about just culture, right? Mm-hmm. Being represented by an Ordinal.
Yeah, new digital assets. Yeah. Yeah, this is pretty damn bullish, dude. So we have CZ coming out saying super positive things.
Yeah.
This is what I'm saying. Basically the titans of this space are
Lubin.
They're aligning and they're all, I think they're looking at this. I don't think they necessarily know like their entry points yet. Like I'm talking specifically Animoca Brands. I don't think Vitalik.
Well, Animoca would probably just invest in like the whole ecosystem of Ordinals, right? Projects building on Ordinals, I would assume.
Yeah. Damn. Yeah, it just kind of like makes you understand how freaking early it is for all this, right?
Yeah.
They were spreading their seed like everywhere back in the day for NFTs.
As an investor should, right?
Yeah. So we haven't even seen that really.
Yeah, we haven't seen one investment into the Ordinals ecosystem.
It's true. Like
Not
a big like announcement of like a big VC, typically that's usually like a indication like, the market's hot.
Yeah.
Right? We saw a lot of that the last cycle, so
I'm sure it has to do something with like the stability of this market, because what if these developers do get together and, eliminate the spam?
Yeah, but then they're setting themselves up for like a fork.
Yeah, but they don't know that.
Who?
Oh, I guess you're right. They're setting up, a fork. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like that would be too damaging, right? But ultimately, like just still, there's no way you can stop this Ordinals thing. I don't think at this point.
Yeah.
You just can't.
Yeah, the miners are going to mine whatever gets them the most money.
Yeah, this is definitely it.
Yeah, this is it.
Yeah, 100%. So, I mean, I don't know. It's just, how long do we have till the happening? Like less than a year,
I think
right?
until April next year, something like that.
Yeah, so, I mean, we're getting close to that. So that's another thing we forgot to mention earlier.
Yeah.
It's like another like...
Feels like everything's lining up. And it happens every 4 years. Things line up. It's weird.
Yeah, but I feel like last time it didn't feel this much like...
That's true. It didn't. You're right.
Yeah, like it literally...
The happening happened and it was just like, let's move on, I guess.
No, it was like pre-happening. Like some like random like institution or something published like a thesis or like some article. I remember specifically, and it said something like a bullish projection for like the crypto markets. That's how deep of a despair it was. Like, the market was looking for anything to be bullish about, right? And this one like publication came out, and like I remember Bitcoin shot up from like 3,000, 4,000 range up until like 11.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember that, but those are early days.
Yeah, that's around when we started the podcast.
Roughly. Yeah, I know. So, but I remember, dude, the sentiment back then compared to now, night and day.
Yeah.
Completely
Yeah, I
different.
totally agree.
Yeah.
And then once it shot up to 11,000, it kind of tapered off, and then we got COVID, hit 3,000 again, and then it just exploded from there. And COVID happened like pretty soon after the halving, right?
Yeah.
Let me look it up.
Or maybe before. Not sure. But that was right around when COVID happened. It's like there was a lot of shit popping off, right?
Yeah.
We had Decentraland was starting to become a little more noticed, right? Because this was like when they actually launched their product.
Yeah.
NFTs in general, Axie Infinity was onboarding like their core community. Play to earn was starting to become realized. Gaming period in Web3. Look at that, dude. Look at that chart. We're getting closer.
Yeah.
About time.
Let's see.
Colors are messed up because of my glasses.
Did you know that we're more than just a YouTube channel?
We also built MetaZone, the first app store for the Metaverse.
Buy, sell, and explore a new class of digital assets like our flagship game, Rovi.ai.
Support us by collecting your digital assets through MetaZone at metazone.io.
Like, comment, and subscribe to stay updated.
Back to the video.
Let's go back to the good old rainbow chart.
Damn, it's been a while since we... Dude, we're still under the rainbow, aren't we?
Let me zoom in.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is when we started the podcast. COVID happened.
Yeah, I guess what I'm talking about is like that little pop that went from like blue to top end of green.
Yeah.
It was literally like, that was like max despair times.
Yeah.
Some random institution published like something bullish, and then that happened. And you're right, like a tapering, I guess like that didn't last.
Yeah.
And then COVID.
Yeah, this is COVID, right before the halving, dude.
But during that 1 year stretch right there is when a lot of like the big innovations started to occur.
Yeah. Yeah. Decentraland launched.
DeFi, yield farming. NFTs were getting off the ground. NBA Top Shots, Beeple, all that stuff.
Yeah.
All this was happening during that time phase. And then after that, that's whenever
Michael Saylor. This is Elon.
Yeah. I remember all of that, dude. It's amazing how we could just look at squigglies and
then,
we can recall like all these like events.
And then Elon said Bitcoin is burning the planet, and then it dumped from there.
Yeah. Then what? How did it get back up right there? It's probably like
it broke all-time high here.
That's probably when like Justin Bieber bought a Bored Ape or something.
Yeah.
Just like the market went back up. And then something happened November 2021, right? Where like the show just that's when Taproot was implemented, right?
Yeah.
Wasn't it? November 2021?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a conspiracy. Like maybe like some of the hardcore Bitcoin holders, whales, were like uncertain of the future of Bitcoin during this time. It's like, you know what? Maybe there's a good time to exit the market before this upgrade. Who knows what it's gonna do? So,
yeah, that sounds about right.
I don't know. I'm just speculating. But really, it's probably just, things were super frothy around that time.
FTX got hacked. Or not
No.
FTX. Wait, when did FTX happen?
That was like way later. Like down there. Like, see that
it's
little
over
dip
here.
right there?
Yeah, this dip. Yeah, you're right.
It's so tiny in comparison. Fuck, dude. We've been through a lot, man. Holy shit. We are seasoned.
You guys are forgetting the Elon SNL skit.
That was like around the top
the
of
big
Yeah, that
dump,
was so
dude.
top here. Yeah.
No, it may have been like the second rung, like up there. Like Doge.
Yeah, I think that was it.
Yeah. Okay.
It's like the Doge mania.
It's
where
market peak.
that might have been market peak. There was a lot of indications, fucking Mechaverse.
Yeah.
Things like that. Like PFP mania was just getting out of control around that time.
Man, and dude, every time we get to these positions, we stop looking at the rainbow chart. Why do we do that? We're always looking at the rainbow chart when we're in the blue section every single time. It's so weird.
Yeah, but what's the point of looking at while we're on the up and up? It's like just enjoy the ride.
Yeah, that's the
It's
problem.
gonna last forever when it's up.
Yeah. There's no way it's ever gonna come back down, dude.
Yeah.
That's the psychology of the market, right?
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's like emotionally,
Yeah.
we're being distracted when we're up here. Like NFTs, Elon, all this shit. It's like we're never like disciplined. And it's, it's just emotions.
Well, I guess that's just like us, like speaking from our experience, pretty much. But like the actual disciplined ones are doing that, right?
Yes.
And they're
That's
able,
what I mean. If you go back and watch our videos, we're
Mhm.
not looking at a rainbow chart up here, dude.
No, we're talking about like the
Yeah.
fucking the most recent IDO, like that did 100x or something like
Yeah,
that. We're
that's
just
right.
like, what the fuck? What's going on?
Yeah.
What are you guys doing?
Yeah, man.
Or like the PFP drop, like the Bored Ape that just sold for $5 million or something like that, right?
Yeah, and I guess we talk about this only to make sure we don't repeat the same mistakes because we got to be disciplined. We got to understand where we are.
Yeah.
Every single time.
I totally agree. Yeah, this is like a good time to reflect. This is, yeah, dude. It's like we're about to, we're in the locker room, right? In a big football game,
Yeah.
big sports game. It's like we all know we're about to go to war,
Yeah.
right? And so we're kind of like, I don't know, reflecting and like game planning.
It's like, what do we do, coach?
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, you're the coach right now, dude. It's like, I don't know, what should we do, dude, to like not make critical mistakes?
Yeah, you know what? Maybe we should make it a routine that every month we just look at the charts, at the specifically the rainbow chart, just to give us context as to where we are.
Where we're at.
Yeah. And we
Yeah.
do it once a month. That way we just stay consistent.
It's like a time to pause and reflect
Yeah.
where we are, not to allow our emotions to overtake like what's
Yeah.
going on.
Yeah, because this has huge implications on a crypto business, right? This is where everything is booming. Everyone has
Yeah.
a successful crypto company.
That's right. Yeah, that's why we haven't seen like the VCs pouring money into Ordinals yet.
Yeah.
Even though it makes sense to us,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's like if we were like a big VC firm, we'd be
Yeah.
deploying the capital right now.
Oh, we
while,
would,
While
yeah.
everything is like dirt cheap,
Yeah.
right? And everything is unrealized. And whenever like these developers need the most backing and support, right?
Yeah. And this is the reason why we say this is because we understand the technology so deeply. We're building into it. We know exactly what is happening technically.
Yeah.
And so if a project pitches to us like, hey, we're doing this thing, we're doing that, and we understand what they're doing technically, and we know that it's unfeasible for these Bitcoin developers to be eliminating spam, we know that it's a good investment,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so yeah, that's like the differences between like understanding the tech and
Yeah. It's just,
understanding the market, basically.
yeah, like the whole Ordinals thing, it's definitely, it's very attractive, but I guess it's not like a full blown legitimate like realized trend yet in the scope of the whole Web3 market, right?
Yeah, and different investors are going to have different profiles, risk profiles, and so yeah, I mean the riskiest profile is Ordinals by far.
Yeah, that's like the highest risk to reward ratio.
That's true.
Sector I would think at the moment. I can't think of another one. Maybe AI. But even AI, it's like AI is like an already like proven thing,
Yeah,
right? There's some data to suggest like AI.
That's another sector where you really have to understand technically what is happening with AI. Like if a project working on AI, they're like, well, we got to spend $50 million on like buying GPUs. That may not be the greatest investment, right?
Mhm.
But you understand that they need it.
Yeah.
So it might be like a necessary evil to invest to like move the football forward, if you will.
Yeah, totally agree.
So it's tough, man. And there's so much to learn too. That's I'm listening to the book Builder by what's his name, Tony Fadell.
You mean build?
Yeah, Build.
Biddle?
Yeah,
I'm glad you didn't call it that.
yeah.
Biddle. So build. Yeah, we just happened to like stumble onto that
Lex
Lex
Fridman.
Fridman interview, right?
Yeah.
So he's like a big Apple guy.
Yeah,
Core developer.
he
programmer.
designed the Apple iPod
And iPhone too, right?
and iPhone. Yeah,
What a Chad.
yeah,
What accomplishments, dude. But yeah, he has like great fucking experience and understanding of like what it is that makes good companies, good products,
Yeah.
good culture, and all
Yeah.
that stuff, right? I mean,
the
fucking-
marketing.
Yeah, it's Apple, dude. Of course he understood all that, and he worked alongside Steve Jobs, so he
That's right.
knows how the mind operates of
Yeah.
the man, the legend, the myth himself, right?
Yeah.
So definitely a book I want to read.
Yeah,
And
it's definitely
encourage-
worth it. So I just bought it, so I'm only like one chapter in, but it's really good.
It's super relevant to us because like we're trying to build, we are building something that he identifies like whenever you're like an entrepreneur or you're in a startup environment, you have like two classes of decisions to make. You have like data driven decisions and you
Yeah.
have opinion driven decisions, right?
Yep, that's right.
And that was like a big eye opener to me because it's like this whole, if you're building in the Ordinals space at the moment, or like specifically for us, bitmap, like this is 100% like a opinion driven
Oh yeah, 100%.
like initiative, right? Because
So let's give an example of what a clear opinion driven decision was. So in the context of iPhone, it was their opinion that it was better to have a software based phone rather than a software based keyboard rather than a hardware-based keyboard.
Yeah.
Because the data suggested that people were perfectly fine typing on their BlackBerries on a hardware keyboard.
It's true. Yeah, that was the biggest market at the time.
Yeah, and Steve Jobs was like, no, we're doing software-based keyboard.
Right. Exactly.
And so that was purely opinionated. There's nothing to suggest that was going to work.
Yeah, like there was no evidence that should suggest this is what the market wanted.
Yeah, exactly.
You kind of had to like think ahead before the market even exists and like had put forth that demand. You just know it's like this is going to be better.
Yeah,
right?
And that's why when we were introduced to bitmap, we knew that this had some value. Of course, it was only our opinion. There's nothing to suggest that there was something
especially in that moment. And we're not talking about like now. We decided to get involved when there was less than 100 inscriptions of bitmaps.
Yeah,
right.
That's right.
We didn't wait for like the block out to like now we're interested.
Yeah.
No, that wasn't the case. It's like just from the experience that we brought into that scenario, right, of developing basically in the absence of any real standard in the metaverse space. Yeah, we saw all the problems that leads to, right? It's just all the fragmentation, the non-collaborative environment. Basically, there's no community, there's no culture behind. Again, like these common shared missions of like, we're all working together to build infrastructure to an open metaverse layer, right? So. That's what this enables, and it's like if you think the metaverse, like when somebody deploys a virtual environment, is a blank canvas. Bitmap is that, but like in a much broader scope. Like there really is a blank canvas here.
Yeah, literally.
Like,
and the people moving the ball forward in this context for bitmap are the people thinking about the infrastructure and the standards. Like, what are the next standards after parcel inscriptions, for example?
Yeah,
and people are coming up with cool ideas like what is the money system going to be, right? What are games going to be like within bitmaps?
IDs,
identity. Yeah. There's a tweet here. Let's see. Well, I guess
so many tweets, dude.
Yeah,
I'm sure you'll find it eventually.
I don't know if it was in the last video.
One more, dude. There it is.
There it is.
It's the very end of the list.
Okay, so this is the one where you commented on. So let's read this tweet. So by vc.sats here, he says, Metaverse components. Payments, it's going to be Bitcoin. Decentralized identity, SNS, that's sats. Avatars is Ordinals, NFTs. Digital lands, Ordinals, NFTs. Digital assets, Ordinals, NFTs, VR, and AI. What did I miss? So iMan comes in. You missed operating systems.
Yeah.
Without the core framework for developers to implement the function, the metaverse goes nowhere. And he was like, care to explain? It says, for example, a vending machine that can be deployed in your virtual space. In order for you to accept any digital payment and distribute ordinals to users interacting with the machine, the logic will come from the operating system it is built on top of. He was like, I think that's already possible today. You can design a 3D gallery to display ordinal NFTs, and users can interact and buy assets directly from the wallet. It's like, correct. But also, we also want to enable non-developers access to host these types of functions as well. This is where the operating system will come in handy, so we developers can create applications that bitmap holders can install on their plots and offer engaging content as well. He's like, I see your point.
Yeah, I think that's important for us to kind of like begin discussing, right? Because you're talking about the parcel inscription standard. It's basically agreed upon, right?
Yeah.
So what's next, right? We can't just we have like the inscription methodologies and mechanisms kind of like understood. We can now deploy the bandwidth of like what the content that's going to be deployed on top of that.
Yeah.
We figured that out as a collective, right? All sourced by Batoshi Nakamoto.
Yeah.
Cheers. Cheers. Thanks for that. But yeah, there's obviously he's laying out many new other components, and like the operating system is a biggie.
Yep.
That's no small endeavor.
No.
Right. So how are we going to collectively start to contribute to these new components?
I think we first have to illustrate what it's like not to have an operating system in the context of like the metaverse.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of examples of this, but the best one would be, let's assume that you build sort of like a pseudo operating system, basically a 3D virtual world, 3JS, Unreal, Unity, whatever it is. And of course, if you're a developer, you can build on top of that, and you can develop a kiosk, like you're saying. And in that kiosk, you can someone can come in and purchase stuff from that kiosk, virtual goods, whatever it is, put them on as wearables, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, well, what's wrong with that? It's like the problem with that is only developers could build that.
Yeah.
Right. And only developers can have the functionality to do that. And it has to be custom development every single time.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not suitable. That's not how it's done on the internet. Right. So what you need is a standardized types of different operating systems. Like, for example, in today's world, we have Windows, we have Linux, we have Apple, and there's probably like a fringe cases for other operating systems. But they work under the same framework. They recognize text.
Yeah.
They recognize images. They recognize TCP/IP.
Yeah.
They recognize all these things across the board, right? And so we need to build the exact same thing for the metaverse, right? We're going to have different operating systems. And so once you do that, once you recognize that that's in a specific layer, then you can start injecting developers to bring apps on top of those things.
Yeah.
So when that happens, now you as a developer can create a little app that dispenses NFTs or ordinals from that app.
Mm-hmm.
And what I can do is I can deploy that application on top of my bitmap that uses the same operating system that application was built on top of.
Yeah.
And so now all of a sudden, you as a developer, you're not building one-off things anymore. You're building functions that others can use and deploy where it's standardized, where it's enabled.
Yeah.
And so that creates a better ecosystem for developers, a better user experience. And now I can customize my location with all these different applications.
Right. Yeah, it's going to be big. These are again,
it's so critical.
Yeah.
You know, this part here, it's extremely critical because the reason why it's so critical is because if developers can't figure out a way to make money, guess what they're going to do?
Mm-hmm.
They're going to go somewhere else.
Yeah. 100%. And this is like a core, I guess, probably one of the biggest things. Even like Apple, I think, might struggle with this potentially. Maybe not. Apple probably has the best shot as far as like attracting the right developers. But you know, if you were paying attention to their Vision Pro presentation a couple of months ago, one of the big things they were talking about is, you know, their developer tools and the ecosystem that they're going to create for applications. They said it outright. Of course. So they are the biggest slinger of apps on the planet, right? So they know that's where the value comes from. Yeah. It's the app developers, right? So if they're building a whole new like system where humans are going to be like interacting with on the regular, they know the value in that type of experience is going to come from the functions of the apps that are being developed by the, you know, the third-party app developers that tap into these frameworks, right? Yeah. So that's Apple though. That's like the biggest company in the world. Yeah. Of course they know that they have complete control and authority over their own like walled garden of an ecosystem. Yeah.
Their own stack. Yeah.
Right. And then they have, you know, they're going to sell billions of these units over the years and, you know, they're going to capture all that. Right. Yeah. But we're trying to do something in a much different fashion, right? Where it's like an open call to the world who wants to contribute to like build a distributed version of what Apple's like you know, metaverse will be.
Yeah, and all that means is that it takes a bunch of people who want to do it, come to a consensus on the standards.
Right.
And like, for example, one consensus is bitmap, right?
Yeah, well that's why that's so important, right? Because, you know, as the bitmap ecosystem continues to grow, which it is, every time we keep looking at it, it was started like at 17K at Blockout, now we're like at 18.5.
Yeah.
So that's 1,500 new participants, right?
That's right.
In a week, roughly, week and a half or something. So, and that's like opening up the market to partial inscriptions, right? So we're going to see that number just continue to snowball and grow. It's almost like, you know, it's like witnessing people launching websites or like, you know,
exactly
in the early days of the internet. It's like eventually we're going to see that number in the millions.
Yeah.
And that's what you want. And I think that's what developers are looking for. Once they see, like, dude, there's a million people in this like metaverse on Bitcoin called bitmaps, and they all own like, you know, developer bandwidth to where like I could build apps for them and then they could buy them from me and deploy them. And
think about what the developer is thinking when they hear that. There's like 1 million holders on bitmap.
Yeah. They all want to send me their Bitcoin.
Well, yeah. And
because I make cool shit.
They all want to deploy some cool stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
So what do you do if you're that developer?
Shit, you build apps.
You build like the most badass app you could think of, right?
Yeah.
that's the point. That's what's missing in this whole metaverse economy, right? It's that motivation for the developer to come in and like try and exploit that market, and that is how like all like of economics works, right? There has to be something to come in and exploit, right? There has to be an industry.
Well, so exploit is an accurate term, but really it's discovering a problem and then building a solution to it. The problem is people are million of people holding land. Now what? Now there's a problem, right? A problem is that land is a virtual space that you can deploy apps on. Yeah. And so here's some apps that you can deploy on your virtual land. So you solve that problem by offering apps. Yeah. So exploiting is correct. It's just you're recognizing a problem and then building a solution.
Right. And we don't know 100% like if it's not just going to be apps itself. Like there's going to be so many different like stacks. Like we're seeing people do that now. Like IMSO Chris, he's building his own virtual environment, right? Yeah. He's deploying his own stack. Like he's rendering his own avatar system.
That's right.
Where you could spin up like 3D models for your 2D ordinals and stuff. That's part of his stack.
Right.
Right. So who knows how who else could leverage all that for their own individual bitmap ecosystem, right? Like that's a whole different competing market, right?
Yeah.
That can emerge, not just from the app layer, but
right.
I guess that's like the operating system, like layer, right? That's the operating system markets. Maybe they're going to be, I'm pretty sure like in the early days of like computers, there's probably like so many different competing OSs until they were like condensed into like, a handful of them that were
and it wasn't so much
standardized basically
condensing. It was just coming up with a better operating system. And it was like Windows and then Apple OS. So it was just, they just did it better and it got enough developers to build on top of that.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, but yeah, I think in the beginning stages, like I said, because it is a blank canvas. So who's going to start deploying the first operating systems?
That's right. Yeah.
There probably will be many attempts.
Yes.
And who the fuck knows which one's going to win out and become like, dude, this is the one I want to plug my bitmap into.
That's right.
So basically, there's space here to build like the next fucking Microsoft.
Oh yeah, 100%.
There is.
Yeah.
There's an opportunity in this metaverse space. Who's going to be the Bill Gates?
Yeah. Right. And dude, that's such a good example or analogy is that there's going to be a Windows operating system and then there's going to be an Apple operating system where Apple controls the entire stack. Yeah. They have the underlying infrastructure, then they have the operating system, and then they build their own apps.
Yeah.
And so we're going to see that happening here in the metaverse as well.
Yeah, 1,000%. And it's needed. That's why I kind of like made that comment on this tweet, because we need people to understand, like, and this is across the board. Like, we're in an infrastructure era for the metaverse, broadly speaking, right? When people start to hear about, like, the metaverse this, metaverse that, and they immediately assume it's a failed concept, failed experiment, because they come in and jump into these experiences and they don't feel like that richness that is being advertised, right?
Yeah.
Well, it's because a lot of these things are not built on the proper standards and the proper frameworks. It's not, the infrastructure doesn't exist yet to provide like the true experience that everyone's expecting.
Yeah,
right?
That's right.
So, I mean, same thing as like early anything, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Another builder, we just interviewed Dirk and Bob Way from Expector. Mm-hmm. And so that was the previous podcast. And they're also building 3D experiences on top of bitmap.
Yeah.
And so they have their own perspective on the operating system, right? They're using Unreal and they have their own avatar system as well. Mm-hmm. I think they're also selling the avatars. They're like really high resolution avatars as well. So, right, they're building the operating system of the metaverse as well. So that's just another example of all this sort of organically happening.
Yeah.
So yeah, the link for the podcast will be in the description as well. So it was a good conversation with Dirk and Bob. Mm-hmm. And I really like Bob's kind of like perspective on things because he goes, I think he's been in the industry for like 40 years. And so he was tying a lot of the parallels between what occurred with the internet and what probably will occur with the metaverse.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's so there's like a video out there on the internet. Maybe we'll link this as well. It's like a hour and a half like hit piece basically about Decentraland.
Oh yeah.
I forget what it's called. It's like the metaverse is like a dead mall or something like that.
That's it.
hilarious.
Yeah.
Very entertaining video. Whether you're a metaverse enthusiast or not, or have any previous experience in Decentraland or not, but we have a lot of experience in Decentraland.
Mm-hmm.
So that documentary, basically what it was,
Yeah.
really hit.
It's 2 hours long.
Super long. Very well researched.
Yeah.
Very much in depth. Addresses a lot of the things that, like I said, most newcomers would be concerned about whenever they first hear about the metaverse and they try and experience it for the first time. That's basically like the Well, that was the experience of that documentary, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, what is the big fucking deal?
Yeah.
Right. And then in his case, he didn't find that magic, I guess, that's being advertised by Apple and Facebook and Meta and all these people. Like, dude, the metaverse is it. It's the next thing.
Yeah.
Well, it's because of that. It's like, it's like trying to show somebody like a web page from like
the 70s,
pre-Netscape era.
Yeah.
And trying to convince them like, dude, this is going to be like the future of how humanity,
Will
shares information, communicates, does business, everything that the internet is today, right? It's trying
to convince somebody that everybody's going to have a web page. Like every single company is going to have a web page. Yeah, and then you're looking at it as like,
this is dog.
Yeah.
Dog doo-doo. Yeah. Basically. Yeah, I can't imagine that because we were like little babies back then.
Well, at least I was. In the 70s, we weren't babies. We weren't even born yet. So.
Well, I'm talking like early 90s, maybe like 92, 93, something like that.
Yeah, I don't remember the internet in 92.
I'm pretty sure it was
so terrible, though.
I know. That's my point. Like, so I get it. I understand like the desire to dogpile on this like anti-metaverse sentiment and stuff.
Yeah, because it's easy.
Especially, in its current state.
Yeah, and this guy who did the video, I mean, that's largely what he does, is like he just understands like the sentiment of a given subject, and then he just like dogpiles.
Same thing with NFTs. I haven't watched the NFT one yet, but he made another hit piece.
2.5 hours long.
About NFTs. Easy target again.
Yeah.
But again, like, dude, you it's expected, I guess. Like, the first penetration, boom and bust, they happen just like with the internet again. We're going to keep paralleling everything to the internet. Like,
yeah, it's like
there always is a parallel to that.
It's like making the assumption that the very first iteration of a new idea, like let's say the metaverse and Decentraland, like you're going to assume Decentraland is going to have it right the first time.
Exactly.
Right? Is this really the expectations that we have about things?
That's like, an unrealistic one for sure.
Was the first iPhone the best implementation of the iPhone? No.
Yeah.
It didn't have an app store. It had like 12 apps. That's it.
Yeah. 1,000%. Or the first, I don't know.
First computer, first car.
Yeah.
Like first anything. Like it's going to be terrible.
First kiss. That definitely wasn't your best makeout, right? TJ,
no, definitely not.
Chime in here, dude.
Probably most memorable. I don't know.
Okay,
definitely not the best.
Decentraland is definitely going to be memorable.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Everyone's going to remember Decentraland in like 20 years from now.
Yeah.
After we've had plenty of metaverse like lays, right? Whatever you want to call them, you're gonna remember that first. He's like, "Holy shit, dude! That was
terrible.
That was truly a stinker, wasn't it?" You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just it's not fair, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, and also like, this,
and it's a little like lazy just to kind of like throw the whole fucking like idea and concept to the side because of that.
Yeah, agreed.
Or I don't know if
but
it's lazy.
Also we have to understand context of like the motivations of people. It's like, yeah, maybe the metaverse is not that great of an experience today, but the motivation to do a 2-hour long Decentraland focus is not an indictment of the metaverse. It's more of like understanding the market. That's like, okay, people are dumping on the metaverse. Let's do a video on dumping on the metaverse.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden he gets 3 million views.
Yeah.
Right. You're not going to do a video dumping on the metaverse when like the metaverse has a multi-trillion-dollar market cap.
No.
Right?
Yeah, that's never going to happen.
That's never going to happen.
That's not going to happen anymore. Basically, yeah, you're right. Imagine how many like YouTubers would have like chased clout. Like I said, if YouTube was a thing in the early internet, like
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
like
look
if
at
it
these,
was, yeah.
Look at these dog shit like,
websites.
Pet.com and like all these fucking 90s like scam companies that IPO'd.
That's right.
In the late 90s and attributed to the .com boom and bust cycle.
Yeah.
Yeah, like after that bust, there'd be like YouTubers all over the place, like talking about like just making fun of the internet.
That's right. Yeah.
Claiming it's a scam. It was just like a money making, Ponzi just to get people.
Exactly.
Same thing. Same exact thing would have happened. But of course, that thing that those people would have mocked and made fun of led to YouTube being a reality in the first place.
That's right. Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, yeah. Why bring it up? I don't know. Well, out of pure like,
yeah, it's
we had to react somehow to that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a good video.
I mean, I laughed my ass off, dude. There's some fucking great moments in that video.
Yeah.
It was very well produced. The comedy, like as far as, obviously there was like I wouldn't necessarily call it a bias, but there was a tone.
Yeah, there was a tone. Yeah. It's just, I mean, he's just capitalizing on the sentiment. That's it.
Yeah.
Which, as a YouTuber, that's what you got to do. That's part of the YouTube game. It's like understand markets and where they are, the sentiment where they are, and you talk about that thing.
Yeah.
So that when people search for that thing, your video comes up.
100%. Yeah. So having said that, so there's a lot of work.
Oh yeah,
a lot of work. This metaverse thing. So yeah.
But it's like many times in this podcast we talked about, man, it would have been cool to like experience the whole up and coming internet thing.
Oh yeah, I've been saying that like my whole life, dude.
And we're lucky to be participating in like the crypto space because that is like the next thing.
I totally agree.
And like the thing after that is like, we're in parallels, the metaverse.
Yeah, I mean the metaverse I think encompasses everything. And I like the way Bob Way like kind of like encapsulated what it like the three. I like breaking things down to like three pillars, 3 tenets, whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
Anything you want, like so for the metaverse case, like what makes it better than the internet, I guess. It's like the injection of like real economics is one. The second one,
multiplayer.
Oh yeah, the multiplayer shareable experience type element. The internet largely is not a multiplayer thing.
Yeah,
you're kind of like exploring this thing.
It's like you know intuitively that Google is a big company, right? Yeah. And intuitively that millions of people are going to google.com.
They're all searching with like at the same time you are.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. But then when you go to google.com, it's like there's nobody here.
Yeah.
There's nothing. It's just
a page.
Just a box.
It is just a box. So like it doesn't even necessarily have to be like some 3D immersive, because that's the third tenet, the pillar, right?
Yeah.
And he identifies as probably like the least important one. I kind of agree. It doesn't necessarily have to be like this ultra 3D, like hyper realistic immersive thing.
Agreed.
That's probably like a down the line like killer feature.
Yeah, nice to have. I mean, when we're putting on our glasses, our AR glasses in the future, naturally we're going to be in the metaverse already, right?
Right.
And so sometimes we want to be immersed in like this 3D environment, and other times we want to be here in the same room, but we have like a Twitter feed, in the corner somewhere.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, right now it's about like setting these primitives of like establishing digital identity, which a lot of like Web3 enables, NFTs, ordinals, that is what that is. It's the beginning stages.
Yeah.
Of like actual hard-coded, verifiable, immutable on-chain identity, right? You're doing that every time you're collecting, a digital asset.
Yeah.
You're attributing to that identity over time, right? So that is the big experiment.
Yeah.
That is unraveling before our eyes that will obviously translate into the metaverse space at some point.
Yeah.
Or like it already is happening now, right? Because that is the point. That identity you build for yourself is going to travel with you wherever you go in this virtual space, right? This virtual universe that we're about to unleash. Right?
Yeah.
But yeah, in order to do that, then we need things like interoperability, which require things like standards and frameworks to build on top of. So it's a lot, dude. There's a lot of layers to this, this grand vision.
Right? Yeah. If you didn't have interoperability, it would be like some operating systems support .jpeg and .png and other operating systems don't.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
All operating systems have to support these primitives, .jpeg and PNGs.
Right.
Right.
Well, yeah.
That's how you make them interoperable. You can't have interoperability without support.
Yeah.
I mean,
100%.
I feel like I don't know. I feel it's intuitive to us. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if people would disagree with this this outline.
I don't know, but basically what you guys just witnessed was us pouring out like the last 4 years of our like aggregate understandings. Like we've come to these like opinions through 4 years of trial and
trial
error.
and error. Yeah.
Pain and suffering.
Like,
joy and euphoria.
yeah.
Like everything, every like spectrum of emotion you can imagine. Like we've felt it all and we've experienced it all as much as you can in this 4-year time span.
Yeah.
And like being dedicated to this like singular mission, right? Which is like the metaverse, the open metaverse. We've been there.
Yeah.
Right?
So let me test your I guess your computer here, your processor.
Me?
All right. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Fuck, dude.
So-
Every time you do this, dude,
I
I start to sweat like right away. Okay, go ahead.
All right. Let you tell me what's the outcome of this simulation, right? This hypothetical situation. All right. So you're building an app, right? And the app is pretty cool, right? The application is pretty cool, but it's running on an operating system that is not very efficient, right? And it doesn't give you the elbow space to do more things with this application.
Correct.
What would be the outcome of such app?
It would not be that great.
Right. And then
Right?
how many
Did I answer?
Yeah, I
correctly?
mean,
Okay.
yeah. It
All
wouldn't be
right.
great, right?
Yeah.
It would be probably
Limiting.
usable.
Yeah, it would suck, dude.
It would yeah, and then in this scenario, how many computer manufacturers would opt to use that operating system in this scenario?
Probably only the struggling ones, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because probably cheaper
Cheaper, and
and
maybe,
it works
maybe you
to
could,
some extent.
yeah.
And, and those other manufacturers probably have to develop new operating systems if they wanted to.
Yeah, it's like those fucking like those, when you go to Amazon, you like search like tablet.
Yeah.
Of course, you got like Apple's and
Android,
Microsoft. You got the good like high tier companies producing, hardware and software, and these are usually generally like pretty good user experiences, right? But there's always that class of like company that you don't even never heard of that name of that company, but they still make these things.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't know if you ever bought one of those before, but I have, and it's like, holy shit, this is like total ass in comparison. But there's still a market for it.
Yeah.
People
it's for the
buy
kids.
Exactly. That's why I bought them. It's like, yeah, the kids could blow this shit up. I don't care.
Yeah.
It's like it's 1/10 the price, but also 1/10 the fun.
Yeah.
1/10 the usefulness.
Yeah.
So that's the point, right? It's just
and that's really the challenge here. Is like we need to come up with really good operating systems so that we can allow developers to have room to experiment and figure out what's going to work.
But that's what's so cool and exciting about this, dude. Like they're literally like, it's like early. It's early anything in tech, right? Like, yeah, there's an opportunity for like, a Steve Jobs and a Steve Wozniak to like meet somewhere in some garage somewhere in the planet.
In the virtual space now.
Whatever. And just start building that operating system.
Yeah.
Or whatever it is they feel is like going to be the thing that moves the ball forward to a significant degree.
Yeah.
To where now the metaverse isn't like this faded thing, right? Like,
Yeah.
Somebody might have that grand vision. Maybe it's us. I don't know.
Yeah.
We have a vision in our head, like, yes, at some point in the future, everybody's going to embrace the metaverse the way we think it should be embraced, right? Just like, a Steve Jobs, like every day in the future, everyone's going to need their own computer.
Mm-hmm.
He just felt that in his fucking plums, dude. I don't know why.
He did.
And he fucking did it.
And he did it. That's so
he made
crazy.
it happen. He's like,
Same thing with Elon. It's like we should be driving electric vehicles. Dude, and we've had... I don't even want to get into it. We've had electric vehicles for like the last 40 years, but...
Yeah, they sucked ass.
They sucked ass, yeah. They did.
Exactly. So they were building those shitty kid tablets.
Yeah, that's right.
And then somebody came in and he came in and built the top grade thing.
Yeah, that's right.
So we're building shitty tablets in the metaverse right now. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, there we go.
We have like a fucking sea of ass. So who's gonna be the
the Apple or the Elon? Yeah.
Who's gonna bring about like the quality basically?
Yeah, that's so important.
It is, and it can't. It's not. You don't have to necessarily look at like a fucking, like it has to be like this $1 billion company, right? Yeah, it could be some guys in a garage.
Yeah,
just like it happened before in history's past.
Yeah.
It's possible. It could happen again here in this metaverse space.
Dude, I totally agree, dude.
Yeah, so that's why it's exciting.
Yeah, and so just you weren't here, TJ, but yesterday we were watching our live stream, one of our first live streams. From the podcast, and we were watching the unveil of the Cybertruck, and it was quite entertaining watching what happened 4 years ago.
Yeah, it was funny, right? I remember you made a comment, something about like you said something your company. I was like, what company? Dude, I don't have any companies.
Oh yeah, I did.
I was like, now we have like 4 of them now,
Yeah.
dude. It's fucking crazy. What could happen in 4 years? You know?
Yeah. So yeah. Yeah, the reason why I brought up Elon was because I just had that in my memory, and then we watched that video again.
Yeah.
But it was interesting, our reaction. I'm glad we captured that reaction.
Yeah,
of the Cybertruck, because it was like, first it was like disgust, and then there was like justifications, like, yeah, I want it.
For you, I think I was like a little, I don't know. Well, I don't know what my problem was. I want one now, but back then I was like talking shit. I was like, dude, this is the ugliest thing I've ever seen.
I was like, you're gonna see one in the driveway one day, dude.
Yeah, TJ, you're about to get one, are you? Well, not about to, but you're on the list
as soon as they let me. Yeah, dude, I'm lined up at the door, waiting, knocking.
But you're one of the first first waves, right?
Yeah, I should be.
Dude, okay, when you get it, dude.
Yeah,
we're doing a full walkthrough unboxing.
Yeah, 100%.
Did you get the little ATV too?
No.
Oh,
I don't think that was an option.
That was an option.
That was just like a showcase for the.
Yeah, when you
want one.
When you ordered it, did you also tell them like which permutation you wanted?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Damn, dude. All right, well, looking forward to that. So
yeah, well, that's cool.
Cybertruck,
and we're right next to Austin too, so we might be the first ones to get it too.
Right on, dude.
All right, that's it for us. All the links will be in the description. We had a long, lengthy discussion on the Metaverse again. Yat Siu.
Again.
Yeah. What else? Ordinals, bullish sentiment. XRP is no longer security. Congratulations to Ripple holders there.
And to the, I don't know, broader crypto community.
Yeah.
This is it, dude. It all starts now, I guess. Like a bull market is now.
Yeah. All right, guys. Let us know if you found something that you want us to talk about. We'll be in the comments, of course, as usual. And follow us on Twitter at The Block Runner, at MetaZone.io, and at Roby AI. And we'll catch you in the next podcast.
Peace.